It is 6:30, March 26th. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Make a motion to open. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved, we're in business. The first order of business this evening is to approve the minutes from February 20th. Has everybody had a chance to look? Is there a motion?
Make a motion that we accept the minutes as read. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. No meeting mail, nothing.
No, there are cases though that came in.
New cases?
Yes.
Okay, so we will be having another meeting next month. No appointments, old business. We're gonna jump right back into new business. And the first thing is the case, it's a continuance. It's case number 2024-0220B. Continuance of the case of Justin Lawrence of 23 Birch Street, petitioning the board for a variance to construct a single-family dwelling on Lambeth Street, Assessors Plat 18, Lot 4G. This request is being made under the provisions of Section 331E. Looks like Mr. Davinion's ready to speak on behalf of...
Yes, Mr. Chairman and board members, for the record, I'm Dave Davignon from Schneider Davignon Leone. I'm here to pick up where my partner Matt Leone left off at the last meeting. The plan that he presented has not changed as far as what is being proposed in front of the board to the board, which is a variance for upland area for a buildable lot. The proposal in general consists of modifying an existing lot that exists today by adding a piece to the east to bring that lot up to 60,000 square feet, which would meet current area requirements. The proposal to create frontage or additional frontage, which is required under the bylaws now, we need 150 feet of frontage, is to create this hammerhead type road layout. And part of that proposal would be to build out Lambert Street to that hammerhead through a planning board process. So we would have a lot that would meet, once we go through the next steps, a lot that would meet the frontage and total area requirements of 60,000 and 150 feet of frontage, but we would be short on the upland area. I think we have slightly over 30,000 proposed. I know and I realize that I watched the tape, so I realized, there were some concerns, particularly from the direct abutter that came up, which were legitimate concerns. I have a set of plans I'd like to pass out if I may approach.
Please.
I'm going to give you an aerial, which just helps to understand the entire neighborhood, where this is situated. It's not exactly clear as day, but the lot that we're proposing is outlined in red, as well as the additional clearing. And I'm going to give you what we've developed, which are what I would call a topographical contour plan for the road construction, drainage. It's a 20 scale drawing, so it's relatively easy to follow. I have a highlighted version up on the board, which I will go through. Yep, I might have to share. I have to share.
No, better, for sure.
So what this plan shows is the proposed construction of a 20-foot wide gravel road beginning at the intersection of St. Lawrence and Lambert Street, where the hairpin turn is, 90-degree turn. The roadway would be built, the proposed gravel road travelway would be built within the existing road layout, and when we get to the lot, we'd have a hammerhead for a fire truck to be able to turn around. The road would be super elevated so that the high spot is on the west side and everything would tilt to the east side. And what you see here in green is a drainage swale, which you see in the cross section down here. The base would be 4 feet. There'd be side slopes at 2 to 1, a berm on the east side of that. So we're creating this large drainage swale which would take all the water off the road, and the swale would pitch from its north spot here and discharge on our site adjacent to the wetlands down here. I know there was a question and concern, well, what if things change and this lot becomes smaller? We're proposing the wetland replication area on this parcel here, which is also owned by the same family. And that will mitigate for the wetland that needs to be crossed in this location here, and then there's a small area right here. So what's proposed for upland area will not change. Should it change, obviously the variance is null and void. We realize we have to go to conservation. We realize we have to go to planning. We're asking for the board to approve the variance this evening because it logically, from a permitting perspective, I'm an engineer. It makes no sense to do all the steps and spend a lot of money just to come back to the board and get denied at the end.
I've had a month to think about it and go over it, David, and I agree with you on that end. So if you can just, well, I have it in this pile of paperwork somewhere, but I want it to be clear on the variance if the board decides to issue it. What is the upland you're gonna give us? I know 30,000 is required, and you only shot a little bit.
Well, 40,000 is the requirement.
40,000, 60 and 40, yes.
60, 40, and we're taking land from this site over here in order to get to 61,115, so lot size is not an
And you were
issue.
giving us 30,000 plus, right?
The upland area will be 30,056. So it's slightly over.
30,056.
Yes. And the wetland area is 31,000, obviously. So it's a 50-50 proposition. When you look at the neighborhood, I brought a copy of the assessors map. Primarily, most lots in this area range from 10,000 to 20,000. This lot did comply with the lot area requirements when it was developed. And I also have that plan with me.
I'm gonna just butt in for one more second to say, again, we've had a month. I did research it so
I
that
did too.
our board knows, not only did it, was it a existing lot and did comply when it was created, they've been paying taxes on a buildable lot the entire time through. And I think our board's decision is only to look at the 30,000 square feet of upland and see if you'll give that variance from 40 to the 30. And again, I looked at all the lots in the area, they're all 10 to 20. So even if it was only a 30,000 square foot lot with 30,000 square feet of upland, it probably would be okay, it'd be grandfathered, except for the family owns other land in the area, and that's what's messing them up. But they've voluntarily surrendered land on another parcel to get it to the 60. So that stuff I've looked at all the way around. I don't think the variance from the 30 to 40 is a big deal, and I'd like to see us move forward one way or another with it. The issues we were looking at last week is this water. I don't want to see the neighbors suffer with any kind of water consequences. But again, in thinking about it for a whole month, this does have to still go to conservation, and they've got to accept his plan for where the water's gonna go, and it's gonna go through the planning board as well to get them to accept the Hammerhead Road and that. That's not what we're here for. We're only here to say whether or not we believe the 30,000 square feet is enough uplands. And considering that the average lot in the area is 10 to 20, it's my opinion that it is, but I do want to give, when you're done, everyone else a chance to speak as
If I may
well.
ask a question. So if we put this through, we can put it through contingent upon conservation and planning, everything.
We happen to have the building department here with us
Yes.
tonight, so that's a bonus, we usually don't. But he'll tell you, even if we make this a buildable lot, they can't build on it unless they get through conservation and all the other boards. So unless conservation agrees that this
Yeah.
new retention pond, the water, the swales, everything that David's proposing is good, they're not gonna be able to build anyway. But they're here because they can't move forward unless we agree to the upland. So they still have a lot of hurdles to cross. We're just, as David said, there's no sense spending all the money doing the future engineering if we're gonna say they can't build on it anyways. So, that's where we're at.
And I'd just like to add that an approval of the variance allows us just to move forward.
Correct.
We can't apply, they can't apply for a building permit. Building inspector would deny them because they have no frontage.
Mhm.
They can only create the frontage by going to the planning board. When they go to the planning board is going to say, you need a conservation permit before we can sign off on
Well,
anything. So
okay.
it's a ripple effect.
I mean, the only
and-
thing I'm concerned with, David, is where you have the drainage coming right by the house that's there. I mean, that's not that far away. How far away is that?
It's on the line.
Typically, a roadway will be centered on the layout. This
Yeah.
happens to be a 50-foot layout. Most layouts are 40, some are
Okay.
even less. For instance, this Parker Street,
Yeah.
which I'll say right now on record, my partner, Matt Leone, is a professional land surveyor. He researched all the deeds, and we have no rights to that street. Furthermore, that's a 20-foot layout. How much you could do with a 20-foot layout. This happens to be a 50-foot layout. Typically, the street would be centered 25
Right.
from. We offset it and moved it to the west side. We're 10 feet off the west side layout so that we can create that swale. I looked at it as whether we could do the opposite, but I couldn't because I'd be putting a swale in the wetlands. It's not really gonna work. And I couldn't crown it because then I need a swale on both sides. So I went through all the scenarios as to how can I get the water and get it past this house? And this is really the only avenue that I could come up with. At his driveway location, right now the driveway comes through the layout and then cuts across. We're proposing to put a 20-foot wide by 20-foot long concrete apron off the gravel road to get him onto his property and to provide some culverts so that there's continual flow through there.
Sounds like it's actually gonna take water and draw it away from his property.
Yes, nothing from our development will end up on his site. If anything, it'll improve the area.
Are you good? Can I ask the audience
Yes,
if there's
absolutely.
abutters who would like to speak on this? Please.
For the record, my name is Jamar. I represent Howard and Susan Allen. They're at the property 50 Lambert, which is right here, the existing dwelling. I mean, I can get into all the reasons why, a variance shouldn't be approved, but I think I think what makes most sense here, and it was brought up last week, or last meeting, let's not see the abutter suffer here due to a project. Let's try to minimize the impacts, right? If the board is gonna go forward and issue a variance for the lack of upland. I did talk with Dave DeVigna today and went through with him the options of coming in through Parker, Lawton and Parker. He did mention to me that Matt Leone did go through and review the records, and it's his opinion that that's not a possibility. I'd like to look into it myself and see if I can come up with a legal opinion if that's a possibility. However, we did also talk about the possibility of just extending the gravel drive, which is 13, 12 feet wide. Dave?
Probably one lane,
Okay.
yeah, let's say
Um,
10.
Which is the current access for my client's property. Extend it down and route it. My clients would like to have it rooted on this side of the road layout, towards the western side. Then they would have, be further away from their home, further away from their property line. Obviously, this would need another variance. It would need a variance from frontage, because you're not gonna have the 150, which Dave spoke about, that they're creating by way of this hammerhead at the end. I think this would be an opportunity to try to resolve issues that the neighbors might have, but also work through with getting this project through. I'm putting it out there to the board.
I believe, I don't disagree with you. I think that's fine. You're just extending the road that's there. It is what it is. But I think that's when you get to the planning board. The planning board is the one who's got to decide, how they want that road. And because they're looking after the fire department and, police department and people trying to get in there and access and how you can turn around and all that stuff. So, that's why we invented all these cul-de-sacs and this and everything else. Tonight, we're only looking at 30,000 square feet of upland versus 40,000 square feet of upland required. And
I get it. I don't want to cut you off.
it's tough because you got to go through all, conservation's got to say that they're okay with
Well, we understand
how you
that.
change it,
Yeah.
and everyone else does. But they can't move forward and do anything if we say no, and they can if we say yes, but it still doesn't guarantee them they can do anything. It can always come back here because at planning, they say, we're all about this, but the neighbors would rather have this little small turnaround, and you can come back for the frontage with neighbors and planning board on board. If they're on board with it, then we don't mind it so much, but I don't think we wanna tell them, oh, you gotta go through another variance, another thing, and then say, conservation's gonna shoot this down anyways, type of thing, so.
So I think conservation may look at this and say, fine, it's actually working, it's more beneficial, there's less impact to the resource areas here. I mean, they're already proposing, there's gonna be filling in an area of wetland replication. That we can work around.
Yep.
Conservation may be more likely to approve a project that is just a continuation of the gravel drive.
I absolutely agree with that. That's why I just want to take up the point of the 30,000 versus 40 this evening and let the boards that,
Planning boards.
planning and conservation.
You could avoid planning.
In my opinion, the conservation is the most important part of this project. A, can we move the stormwater and the new water that we're going to create around? And B, does it work? Is all the flags, our board doesn't know that. We're not, site engineers like Mr. Davinian. We're looking at this and just saying, does it suit the neighborhood to have a house there versus the rest of the neighborhood? And the rest of the neighborhood is 10 to 20,000 square foot homes. So it's not out of the realm of the neighborhood, is my opinion. All the other stuff, the water, where it's gonna go, the driveway, the roads, how it's gonna be constructed, I think belongs to a different department. That's all I'm trying to say is, I really believe that planning and conservation are the ones that are gonna follow your direction and your client's direction and say they can do a little less because it's better for both the environment and the neighbor.
I get that, and my thought here is, and a recommendation to the board is simply, let's push this off a month, let the applicant go back. If the board can consider the idea of a variance for the frontage, let us go back, let us put it on the plan where this gravel drive would be, and they'd be back here in a month.
But then the planning board could just shoot that down.
No, the planning board, tell me if I'm wrong, things change if it's not the installation of an actual roadway, and we're just extending the gravel drive.
What, if I may,
Yeah, go ahead.
when Jim and I talked today, what we talked about was an entirely different concept.
Okay.
Instead of more is better, in this case, it's the opposite. If the board, I told him, we are not proposing this, we're not opposed to it, but we're not proposing this because we're not here to be greedy, and we don't want to look that way. But if the board were to consider a variance for the frontage, right now we have 50 feet of frontage on a way that, let me show you, that was signed by the planning board. I do have the plan from 1982. This is the signed plan that created the road layout. So I think what we're talking about is as an alternative here, if we went back to that plan, which shows 50 feet of frontage, it'd be like a retreat lot. Under a retreat lot, if a variance was granted for the frontage, this cul-de-sac, this hammerhead, this area would be swallowed up by the lot. It'd actually reduce the variance that we're asking for now because that consists of 5,000 square feet. That would actually, the lot would now be what you see on paper there. So the upland area would be, go up to 35,000. The variance request would be down to 5,000 instead of 10,000. With the road being a road granted variance, we wouldn't have to build this massive road. It would be viewed as a retreat lot. And all we would simply have to do is pick up the road somewhere in this vicinity, which is a driveway, and continue the driveway to service this lot.
But you would need a ton of variances for the retreat lot because it's not 180,000 square feet. You can't keep 75-foot setbacks all the way around.
It wouldn't be a variance for a retreat lot. It'd be a variance for the frontage for a conventional lot from 150 to 50.
Correct.
And the upland area would be short 5,000. Those would be two variances. Once issued, then we go to the planning board with an A&R plan, not a subdivision plan, and we would add this other piece to it to get the 60,000. The plan would state that we have a variance for the frontage, so the building inspector would see the plan, record at the registry, yep, they have a variance. They have a variance for the upland area and this, therefore it's a buildable lot. We still have to go to conservation, but we don't have to go to planning board. Planning board would have no say. Because we're really just creating a lot without doing the subdivision, because we do have a subdivision layout. It's been on paper for 40 years. That's the alternative we talked about, and all of this elaborate stuff wouldn't have to happen. It'd be a single driveway. We would try our best to keep it to the west. That would be up to conservation as to how much wetland they would let us fill, and we're willing to replicate. This would obviously be less. This whole thing would be less. This would go away. Oh, and by the way, we are bringing utilities in through an easement from Cox Street because we have family members around the entire parcel. The only person that isn't a Fernandez in some fashion is this parcel, which Jim represents. So we have access 150 feet across here. We're on Cox Street, and they have water and they have sewer. So we're bringing the utilities through here, which makes the project even easier. And we even talked about possibly coming in with overhead electric or underground electric through here too. One easement covers everything. So it's something, that's what I think Jim was trying to get out there. It's something we're not opposed
I'm
to.
not against it, but it's not what you're proposing,
No,
so
it
I
isn't.
can't take a vote on it unless you guys change what you want. Y'all the one
Of course.
who's here to...
Correct, we could
Propose it.
proceed with the variance tonight, but if the board would entertain it, we would apply for that extra variance for the next, a month from now.
And both parties would be agreeable to the...
We've discussed at length today, even so far as where that road, where the driveway would go. I suggested that his client go out and put the stakes where he'd like them to be. We'll locate them and see if it's feasible, and we'll work from there and try and come up with a plan to show the driveway access onto the lot. So we're in agreement that far.
Are there any other concerned parties besides both of you that want to speak? Just want to make sure we... That's it?
I just want to make one comment.
Yeah, come on.
Just one. I'm Howard Allen. I'm the abutter that Jim is discussing. The only thing, as far as your veering that lane to the west, the further to the west you veer that, the higher the ground is going to be and the drier it's going to be. I just want to make sure that we're aware of that. The further to the east you go and the closer to our side you go, the lower the ground will be and the wetter it will be. So what they're suggesting would work, the further to the west it is, the better it will work. And the less that they're going to impact those wetlands.
They obviously have to do it on their...
That's the only point I want to make.
They have to do it in the legal roadway,
It will be
though,
less
and
impact
get
on the-
conservation to agree.
Yes.
But it will impact the wetlands less by going further to the west.
And if that's the case, that would be...
That's,
Well, that's what they want to do, is less impact, because it's cheaper. I mean, that's easy.
The scenario that we talked about as an alternative is practical, it makes sense, and, you know, it's, I don't,
You're representing your clients, but I'd like to hear from your clients that they would like a continuance to
I'm Rick
to make this an
Fernandez, my
option.
family's owned all this property. Actually, the property that Terry owns now was my sister's house. We paid taxes for over 50 years on this property. We have trouble with that revised plan that you're talking about. Is there room for the fire truck to still turn in there? Would they pass something like that? The fire department? That's what worries me.
It sounds like if we approve it, it is what it is because you're not going to the planning board at this point.
That's correct. It's like a retreat lot. If you drive around town, you see long driveways, and they can build a house 1,600 feet off the road. And it's a single driveway, they're all over the place.
And what I'm
It's
gonna
really
say-
no different than that, but this is only a 300-foot stretch, and we're on the property. It really is, it's not very long.
And what I'm gonna say to Mr. Fernandez is when you do that, and when I was in the building department seat, I tell these people all the time, make sure them trucks can turn around in your driveway somewhere because you're gonna want them there. You know, so that's on you and in your own property when you do that. But it does eliminate having to have that big hammerhead.
So that would save money, definitely, to do it that way.
What do you think about that?
You know, I agree, the less asphalt, the better for conservation, that's easy.
Stopping the subdivision, we usually have the lot.
Hi, my name's Justin Lawrence of 23 Birch Street. I'm the one that's on the name on this project. I agree with what he's saying. I think the less impact would be better. You know what I mean? So, that's it.
Thank you. So again, what I was asking, Mr. Davinian, is your client asking for a continuance so that we can research both these options for the
How
next
long is
meeting?
continuous?
Because I do believe we have to have a different drawing showing this if it's what you want us to approve. I don't think we can just kind of,
We're trying to get the house.
I would feel better if it was advertised and people had a little bit of time to look at this and vote on it next meeting, if this is what you're asking.
What do you think?
Well, that puts us in a tough spot without knowing that the 50-foot, the variance for the frontage is something this board is on board with. I know you can't take a vote, but you could do a straw poll. Without it, we're just rolling the dice for a month, hoping we get it, and then coming back with a...
Well, I think what we're looking at, if you continue, is option A versus option B. And it's still yes or no based on the whole board. Well, I don't think we're throwing away your other option.
No, it would be, we would file another application for the second variance. I don't think...
I understand,
I don't
you're
think we
right.
can amend the application.
Thank you, I agree with you.
So we'd have to file a second one, so we would have two variances
Mm-hmm.
before the board. This is, I guess what I'm trying to say is, I would hate for my clients to lose a month.
Can I get
To know that...
any feedback from the board on
So-
what you think?
I'd rather, if both parties are
That's how-
agreeable to a solution, I would take that any day over approving something that another party's gonna be aggrieved at. And so that's my thought process right there.
I strongly agree.
The original come back in '82, there's less destruction and
It is much better for the environment. It sounds like that's what the neighbors want. I know it's a better deal for you guys, so.
So if that's the consensus, then we'll request a continuance for 1 month, and we will file
The
an application to
additional,
get on to the same night, yes. Will we be able to do that? Will we meet the deadline?
yeah, because we're continuing it,
Yeah.
and we're gonna,
Right.
this board's gonna allow, I'm gonna take a vote on that. Will we allow him to add this, considering there's a whole month for the neighbors and anybody else in the neighborhood to come up? We're not doing it tonight. We're telling everybody live that, we are going to add a variance to this, so they're gonna be a lot less sharp, actually, on
Yes.
the upland.
We'll reduce it by
Well,
50%.
we're gonna be contemplating a vote on a shortage of frontage as well. Is everybody in agreement on that? Can I get a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
All in favor? So,
We'll,
we,
we formally request a continuance of this case, and we will file a
we're
secondary...
gonna allow you to
variance.
add the,
Yes.
The original.
and again, I mean, you heard everybody here, we want both we want all parties in the neighborhood to, you know, be worked out and to be fair to all, so,
Good, thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so that is continued. We do need to take a vote on that. Motion to, they asked for a motion to, they asked for us to continue, I need a motion.
Make a motion.
And a second? All in favor? Continue to next month. I'm gonna give you that date now so that it's on the record. April 16th. April 16th.
Is that enough time for advertising? Do we,
Yeah, it's 2 weeks, is that okay?
okay, I'll take your word on it.
What's that?
So the next meeting will be April 16th at 6:30 PM, and that's the continuance date for this hearing as well.
All right, thank you.
Now we're moving on to our second case of the evening, case number 2024.03.26A. Case of Kathy and David McCooch of 203 Leonard Street, who are appealing the board due to a decision made by the building commissioner concerning 197 Leonard Street and a business certificate to Chase the Terror on August 2023. This grievance is made under the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 8, 14, and 15.
I would like to recuse myself as a board member because I'm related to the terrorists, so Kevin and will take my spot. Okay?
Thank you, Mr. Terror.
Yes.
Chairman, for the record, my name is Jim Marsh. I represent Kathy and Dave McCutch, trustees of the Kathy McCutch Nominee Trust. They're the owner of the property at 203 Leonard Street, Acushnet. Thank you, Mr. DeTerra, for recusing yourself. We're also going to request that Mr. Leonard and Mr. White, I know, Mr. White, you're a associate, but if you were to fill in, we would want to have him recused as well, just because of the relationship through their employment. We think is a conflict. This creates a problem, I know, for the board, because you need a quorum and you need 4 votes. There's this thing called the rule of necessity. I'm sure you're aware of it, where you have an issue like this where many have been conflicted out. And I can make this real quick. Rule of necessity, if whoever's left, essentially can vote out of necessity that there's not enough members. However, before you invoke this rule, every effort is supposed to be made to find another board or authority in the municipality with the legal power to act in place of, and in this case, your board. The Board of Selectmen, under the zoning bylaws, have the powers to enforce the zoning bylaws. I think they would be a authority that could review and deliberate on this appeal of Mr. Popola's decision as to whether or not to enforce. So we're suggesting that this be obviously changed in form to the Board of Selectmen. It is suggested that municipal council should be consulted to identify whether this municipal board would be the appropriate authority. But we're suggesting that the Board of Selectmen would be that, where that there's, we're having at least 3 recused tonight, and where we're up against it, where we're not going to have a quorum.
I'm going to just talk with my board members individually, in open session here, but individually for a second, because you're asking for their recusal. Obviously, Mr. DeTerra knows that this is his family member and
Yep.
did the right thing. I anticipated this coming, and I know that, you know, D.W. White, I don't actually know the ownership or how it works, and I know that Bobby works, you know, under Jeff. Do you feel there's a conflict? Are you guys, you
Why,
know,
why am I being accused?
well, again,
There's
Chuck,
only-
I know you work for DW. I mean, it's a small town. I've known the DeTerras, just like I know almost everybody else in the room every week here. You know, you got 10,000 people in town. People are gonna know each other.
Yeah.
I don't see how Mr. Lennon working with Bob, who's not on the
Oh, I work
complaint.
for KR Zennies.
Oh, you're not even in there
3
anymore.
years ago, yeah.
I apologize. I didn't know.
My understanding was you worked at DWI.
No, I work at KR Zennies.
Okay, and we, you know, our thought here was where there's, where you're, through your employment, you had a relationship with Chase's dad, and that, you know, Chase has made the claim that what he's running out of that property is simply for family. That what we thought created a conflict, and the same for Jeff with respect to D.W. White and the fact that Robert worked there.
Yeah, but I also have my dogs. He takes care of my dogs too at the dog. And that's the same.
I mean, we're bringing the Makuchas are not, and it's against whether or not enforcement should be brought against
It
the.
is tough in small town.
I know.
Well, like he says, he brings his dog there, that's, you know,
So was
it's a
he-
thing.
We can only request that you recuse yourself. You make up your own.
Yeah,
mean,
I,
I'll take.
Chuck, I mean, I don't actually, I thought you worked at DW. If you don't, I agree with you. You do what you want on that. And same with Jeff. I'm not asking you to recuse yourself. I'm asking you if you think you should, or if you can vote, you know, with your conscience, irregardless of who the parties are. That's what means everything to me. And again, appearance is everything too. So you gotta sell it to, you know, the public down the
I mean, I
road.
just walked in here and I'm saying that Bobby works for us and I bring my dogs to the kennel and my mother does and stuff. So I don't, you know, it's been that way for a long time.
Can I say one thing? I'm Robert DeTerra.
Okay.
I live at 197. I don't work for Jeff. I work for Jeff's brother. Jeff's brother owns the company. Jeff's just a worker like I am. So I mean,
I'm not saying that he's your boss or superior. I'm just saying because the relationship where you're employed at the same
like
Same
again,
business.
I know everybody.
I mean,
So-
for nothing, the complaint is for Chase DeTerra, not Bobby DeTerra. I mean, I don't understand how
So it doesn't
Bobby
make any
DeTerra
sense.
is.
It is, I mean, there's nobody in here doesn't know the Makuchas through the dog kennel or through all his years of service on the fire department. So, you know, it's one of them. I mean,
This scramble.
David has called me up plenty of times to say, this is what I'm doing over here, and I jump, answer the phone and call. He's a representative of the town for years. I mean, we all know each other.
Understood. So I'm just making a request. If the request isn't
Again, thank you, Randy, for accusing yourself is the right thing to do. You guys, you're on your own, yeah, you gotta make your own decision. And also, if it's one and not the other, the Makuchas can decide to move forward with the four of us. It's enough to make a vote. We still have a quorum. That's up to them too. So I'm gonna let you guys do what you want on this.
I mean, it's like, for me, it's 50-50, you know?
Yeah, I'm not recusing myself.
I mean, that's what I feel about it.
Okay.
It's just,
So I think we have a 5-member board. Obviously, your clients can make it an issue down the road, but I think these gentlemen can vote fairly.
Okay.
They did.
Okay.
I don't know if you want to start or you want me to start. I've read through everything, and again, you're challenging the building department. And I've been over to the property. My issue with the whole complaint right now is it's saying about somebody's running a construction company and there's a building permit over there open for construction. So there's a couple piles of dirt there that I'm told came from the ground were excavated from that ground and moved to somewhere. The excavator that I believe is in question belongs to the homeowner, not his son who's running a landscape business. As long as there's an open building permit, I make it very hard to determine whether there's anything going on over there that's not supposed to be. I've read all the letters, I've read your letters, I've read the building inspector's letters. I was in his seat doing his job years ago, so I know what he's supposed to do. And it looks like he issued a building permit, and that's what they're doing, is building. It sounds like Chase the Terra applied for a, I don't want to use the wrong word, but a business certificate to run some kind of landscaping business, which has nothing to do with the actual complaint here of construction equipment on the property. So I'm going to turn it back over to you and maybe further explain what the issue and why it's being overturned to me, because I just don't get it. As long as that building permit's there and run the construction, there's going to be construction equipment there, and there's going to be a few piles of dirt. I haven't seen any proof that anybody's brought any dirt from the outside and in there, or is doing any kind of excavation work. As far as the business certificate and doing that, it's a customary home occupation, which he had every right to do. I'm gonna give Mr. Bobola a chance to speak, seeing so this is a complaint against him, and I don't see it. Am I off base on what I'm thinking is the case here?
Not at all. And what I would suggest through you, Mr. Chair, is that you allow Attorney Marsh to go ahead with his, and then I would like to rebut.
Thank you.
after that.
So,
Thank you.
I don't know if you want to join the audience, that there's no parents of you putting in input from this side.
Yep.
Obviously, you're a direct abutter. You can speak
I am.
from that side.
Yep.
But
Thank you.
it looks like we have a 5-panel board that's willing to go forward and listen to you.
So, my clients filed a request to the building commissioner to enforce zoning against Mr. DeTerra, Chase DeTerra, for operating a contractor's business out of the property at 197 Leonard Street. As you guys know, that property is located in the Acushnet Residence A zoning district, in which the town of Acushnet zoning bylaws prohibit this commercial activity. And I think we can have consensus on that a contractor's yard is something that's prohibited in an RA district.
Not the office, no. I'm a contractor. I run my home out of my business, but I park a 1-ton vehicle in my driveway, which I'm allowed to do, and I go to work every day. I do no business at my home. My business is somewhere else, and I'm allowed by town, and I have a business certificate, to conduct business, do my paperwork, do what I gotta do. He is not allowed to bring materials in and out and to use that as a base of operation, but he can certainly write checks from there and mail people and have, that's a customary home occupation.
That's what he can do. If that was a principle, which he lists by way of his CR DeTerra Excavation LLC. If you look at the Mass Secretary of State's office, it has the principal place of business to be 197 Leonard Street.
Okay.
That would be fine, as you just mentioned, if it was an office and he sent invoices or he took care of his billing there, or that was the administrative portion of his business. That's not the case here. At least we don't think that's the case here. And that being the neighbors who see this constant activity, my clients seeing that constant activity. It's not just like your description of what happens where you have your truck there and you get in and you go to your job site and then you come back.
I did go to the site last week.
I know.
There's no evidence of any materials coming in, going from there. There is I believe it's the purple excavator, is that what we're talking about over there? Little mini excavator?
That's one of the several items.
It's been there for 30 some odd years. It belongs to the homeowner, not Chase DeTerra, as far as I know. And I'm gonna ask you point blank here, Bobby, is that part of his business operation, or is that your yard machine?
That's my yard machine.
Okay.
The Bobcat and the 1-ton is all mine. And I actually worked for Macooch at his yard with it one year.
He did not.
So
Yes, we did.
I want to say that I'm sure,
My father ran it.
based on
Still the same machine.
Guys, we got one at a time, please let him speak.
that these items that we claim were located on the property were removed from the property prior to your site visit.
No, I saw them there, that's what I'm saying. There was an excavator in the yard, there was a trailer in the yard, and there was piles of dirt, but they were overgrown with, weeds and stuff. They've been there for a long time, so I asked the question, and he said this is from the hole in the clearing for the property. You gotta understand my issue here. There's an open construction permit on this property. They have a job going on there, so they have to bring in equipment in and out for that project. Somebody's gotta tell me that that's separate of what we're complaining about, because that's allowed.
Yeah, but why is that equipment, as I've shown in photos, being removed from the property and coming back later that
Okay,
day?
that's what I, need to know.
And we have these Facebook posts that are put up by the company saying, hey, another great job, and there's the purple or blue
Okay.
excavator.
Because that's.
That's not being used simply to do what needs to be done under the open building permit at the property.
Builders can have 2 or more jobs and go back and forth.
2 or more jobs. I see Facebook posts constantly from the company all over town.
Every builder has multiple jobs, you can't be stuck in one job.
Am I not allowed to do work in town?
You can if you put your equipment that's part of your business at a location where a contractor's yard is allowed in town.
I think I see what's going on here now, is that the equipment's being used to work at your house, but it's also being used to work at other jobs by Chase for his operation.
Yeah, as well, we take, as well as our other properties that we have too.
Right.
It's not my only house. I mean, I can't take it to another, I can't take it down the driveway to take it to my other place. That doesn't make any sense.
5 different jobs.
He's got employees, he works with other
I
subcontractors.
do
He's
not
got-
have employees.
No,
Sorry
one
to
employee.
interrupt, but I do not have a single employee.
All right, so then they must be independent contractors who've been shown in these Facebook posts at these job sites that are working with you on these projects,
A lot of
using
time
the
it's
same
the homeowner
equipment,
helping out.
using the same equipment that you're storing and the materials you're staging at the 197 Leonard Street property.
There is no such thing. It would cost me money to haul material home, to haul it back to a job site.
Makes no
We've
sense.
seen a pickup truck come and go. We've seen a trailer in the driveway along with his enclosed trailer, a bulldozer, 2 Bobcats, 2 excavators, blue and yellow. And these
Because he
have been
rented it.
seen
Those are
on
rented
other
machines.
project sites, not just, and all that simply to work on the open building permit? That seems excessive. He's got storage containers in the yard that store his business equipment.
It's empty.
Again, on a regular basis,
Go
my
over
clients
to
have
the
seen
side by side. and-
materials delivered to and picked up from property for these job sites.
So,
They were old drain pipes we've seen on the property, landscaping material. He, in his description on the Secretary of State Articles of Incorporation lists that he's a excavator, grading, site work, land management, drainage work. Drainage pipes on his property? He regularly stores various other construction-related items. There's logs, pea stone.
I put
That goes
in
into
the
landscape.
new basement, you know anything about digging holes?
Blocks, rebar, gravel, and other materials. Are all those associated or directly being used as materials for this open building permit? I don't think so.
I think I have questions for Mr. DeTerra before we move to the building department.
So not to beat a dead horse, this is not, I get it, maybe some of this equipment and materials is being used for the family as part of this open building permit, But come on, I mean, it's obvious, he's made it obvious that he's doing work all over town. And he's bringing this stuff to there and back to the property. You can't have a contractor's yard in this zoning district. The home occupation, or customary home occupation accessory use, that alone doesn't allow you to store, stage, use equipment for your off-site projects. If it was simply his office, that's one thing, but this is not what he's doing.
Mr. DeTerra, can I get you to answer to these questions?
Yeah.
You gotta come up to the podium so everyone can see you on TV. Again, when I went over there, it didn't look like a lot of stuff had been coming back and forth, but it sounds like they're documenting with pictures that you're actually coming and going with multiple excavators and skid steers, and I think I heard a dozer. Is that the case? Are you using this as your location to store equipment?
Just my small Bobcat. So the dozer was there, I bought a bulldozer, it needed an engine. I like tinkering with stuff, so I put a new engine in it, got it running. The dozer ran, I drove it on a trailer, it left, it never came back. It's at my cousin's lot, it stays there.
That was gonna be my next question, is if you do have all this equipment and you're not putting it on that site, I would presume you have a place that you're actually working out of with your other equipment and where you would bring a little material if it was excess versus your dad's yard?
Yeah, I don't bring any material home, and I do not haul any material home to haul to job sites. Sometimes I'll come home for lunch, there might be something in the 1-ton, but it stays
You're
in the
not
1-ton
leaving it?
on the way. Yes, it's in and out, because I eat lunch at home, so I'm in and out, once in the morning, once in the mid-afternoon, and then I come home at night.
I'm hearing that you're having deliveries dropped off of pipe and stuff like that, is that a?
No.
I mean, generally you wouldn't do that,
We
you have
had
it delivered
brought-
to the site.
We had brought an ADS drainage pipe home, it's in one of the pictures listed in his packet, and we use it for sonotubes for the new back porch of the house.
Gotcha. I mean, I'm not there every day looking at this, so I'm listening to you, I'm listening to him. The building inspector's doing his job every day. I'd like to give Andy a chance to speak on this.
Can I ask one question before we move on to Andy? Can you give us the location for where this equipment that you're using for your CR to Terra Excavation and Landscaping Company? Where is
Ferry
it?
Equipment in Wareham, Mass.
Where?
Ferry Equipment, Wareham, Mass. It's a rental company. And I
Ferry
have all the
Equipment.
receipts to show that all the yellow equipment that you see is a rental.
Okay, and just one follow-up. Why isn't your yellow and blue excavator, if that's what they are, why aren't they at that location? Why aren't they being part of
they're
the
not his.
I'm not asking. I'm asking.
Because they're not mine. They're not mine to say where they go and what they do.
But you're using them for these projects,
With
at these
permission.
project sites.
But any homeowner is allowed to take any piece of equipment home and allowed to have some type of yard equipment that lives on a farm-like base where you have a lot of land and you need a...
You don't have agriculture at your property.
Well,
Show me an animal. Show me some crop that you're growing.
you ever heard of maintenance on a big property? Everybody has a tractor in town. Mr. McCooch has multiple tractors, a Bobcat, all types of stuff in his house. And he hides it in his garage so
But
you
he's
can't
not
see it. Just
using
because
it
we don't
on
have
a
the money
project
for a
site.
garage
He's
does
not
not mean
using it
that
as
it's
part of
not
his
okay to
business.
have it.
He's not using it as part of his business.
So I guess my question's gonna be, to answer their question, when you bring that equipment to your yard, is it to use in your yard,
Most
not
of
for
the time,
hire?
it stays on
And
the
then
little
when it's-
trailer. When my skid steer comes home all the time. Skid steers are very known and prone to be stolen. So it's got insurance on it. It can be left at a job site if it's needed to. I'd rather see it be on my trailer in my yard when I come home at night. It's a small trailer. It's towed by my pickup truck, and nothing that we have right now is in the business name. I bought that skid steer with my own money. I bought the trailer with my own money. Pickup truck's got personal plates on it. I have no name on anything. Everything that comes home doesn't have a single word, letter, DOT number, and it's all bought and paid for in full with my money, not the business.
I'm gonna let Andy talk, but I think their argument is, if you're taking that equipment back and it's not being used at home for home purposes, you're just storing it there and going back and forth to work with it, then you're running your business out of there, you know, versus having a place where you can store that. You know, you have the right to bring your 1-ton truck home. That's in the bylaw. You have a right to, you know, do your business and do that. But there is a line between how much construction equipment you can cross over that threshold morning, day and night. So, again, I think the building inspectors keep an eye on that. I think that, I thought that, I don't know what I'm thinking now, but I thought it was because you got a construction project going on at home, and that's what it looks like to me. But I'm being told the opposite, so I gotta listen to all sides here.
Hi, my name is Andy Bubola, Building Commissioner. Just a little history. Before all of this started, Chase came into the office, actually went into the town clerk's office, got a business permit application, and in part of that approval process, it comes over to the building inspector's office, review it, and say yes or no for that business certificate. When Chase and I talked in the office, it was strictly for banking and a mailing address for not only the IRS, but for the Better Business Bureau. It tracks down the list. We have countless numbers of these kinds of businesses. People that run real estate offices out of their house. Obviously, you know, they go to a listing and their business is taking place, but they need a legal address. We have internet auto sales. They're all over town that people buy on the internet and sell. And again, they need a business place. They need a place of business to actually have a mailing address and for banking. So when I looked at it, he told me that there would not be any vehicles going in and out of the property for the landscaping business, with the exception of a small, either 12 or 14 foot coverall trailer. And that's where he will, you know, go to a job site, do the job, lock up his equipment, and most of the time it stays on a job site if it's a safe neighborhood, and if not, he brings it home. When the complaint came in with all the photos that I'm sure you've seen, when you look closely, the materials that are photographed are absolutely germane to the construction project. Okay, when I talked to Robert, he told me, he said, that's all the stuff we used and are continuing to use to wrap up a construction project. So most of those complaints and photos were dismissed by me because of that. So it got a little bit more contentious, and I can tell you from the time that this was filed until today when I went by, I've been by the property 20 times at least. All right, I don't see what the McCooch family is seeing. So when I asked Chase and Robert about the truck, they said it's kind of like a one and done. The piece of equipment gets transported, they do the job. If they need rentals, they'll apply and get rentals, and that's it. So it's really to me, very much a low-key situation. When you look at the north end of town, there isn't, I can tell you, there aren't many backyards that don't have some form of agricultural, tractors, bobcats, you know, they're everywhere. So, again, this was a little bit difficult. I knew it was going to be an unpleasant answer, but I think the best that I can do is what I have done, and I would ask for your support of my not providing zoning action.
So, again, listen to everything. I'm hearing the complaints. I did make my own observations. I went into the property last Tuesday, because I thought the meeting was last Tuesday. I wanted to make sure I could see what's going on. All that material there has been sitting there. You can tell it's sitting there. I know what a pile of dirt that's been sitting there for 6 months looks like versus one that's been moving out and people are buying and selling property. The fact that the building inspector is telling me that he's not only made the one trip I made, but several trips back and forth. It tells me I'm hearing the same thing I'm seeing. I'm gonna stop talking because we got a hand.
I just have a quick question for the building inspector and anybody in the room. Have you got any other complaints except the Makuchas on this issue at all? Like I saw they mentioned, their attorney mentioned in that statement, the neighborhood is all up in arms. Is there anybody that's an abutter here, I'm one of them, I'm sure there's a few others, that is on the Makucha side that this is a big issue?
So through you, Mr. Chairman, the answer to that is no. And the only notification I got came from 3 or 4 abutters that were speaking on behalf of the DeTerras.
Thank you.
So no other.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just like to say personally, I've known Andy a long time. I know he takes his job very seriously. I know if he saw an issue there, he'd be telling me there's an issue there. If he's telling you there's not, I'm on board with having his back. I mean, that's, you know, I know Andy very well. He definitely is thorough, and if he's getting a complaint, he's gonna check it out and make sure there's not an issue there. I will say that, this being said, it's here. Andy, I know will be on it more, so we gotta make sure that it doesn't become a bigger issue. We gotta make sure that with the close of this building permit, when you wrap it up, that it all gets cleaned up and goes away. But until that issue, I gotta stand behind my building inspector, and I'd like to see.
So we
what
make a
do the
motion to
same.
stand behind the building inspector?
I mean, the complaint is against them, so yes, it's a vote to say that there's been no wrongdoing and he's doing his job and holding up the zoning as he's supposed to, or that you think he's ignoring something, and I don't see it.
So I just have do you have any logs, like more thorough evidence?
Yeah, we
what
cut
has
down
been
like
presented?
35 trees.
Like a detailed log throughout the day, like this car entered at this time, this truck left at this time. Any close?
You're asking the Makuchas?
Yeah, because I'm just gonna be on, I know neither party, I'm as impartial as you can get. So I get the concerns for the neighbors. I probably would be concerned too, but I can't, I'm struggling here with the evidence presented so far. That, to really make a definitive determination that this is taking place, that this is actually taking place to what is being, I'm not saying it's not true, but
Right.
I need more than this.
All right, so specific logs, I don't believe the Makuchas kept a log.
And that would have to be corroborated with photos too.
I think they would be able to go
So what I'm
Otherwise,
saying,
that's hearsay.
I think they would be able to go back.
We see these pictures, and these pictures are just the truck and trailer parked in the yard, which is allowed.
Provided, see, this is what I think you guys need to consider, is the truck and the trailer at the 197 Leonard Street property. If it was for the project at 197, it could be parked there. But where it's also being used at other project sites, it's no longer simply being used for the open building permit, right? It's
But-
being used for his
While-
business.
While that open building permit is there, it creates an issue for us, because he can certainly do work wherever he wants and do work at his own home.
Well, here's the thing. If he's working at home and needs that equipment, he can bring it to the house and use it for the open building permit. But because it's equipment that he's using for his business and project sites off the property, that should go to a different location that's allowed in whatever district that allows contractors' yards. He needs to do that, whether it's Wareham, ferry equipment, whatever it was. The equipment needs to go there, and then when it needs to work at 197, he brings it to the property. Hell, it can stay overnight.
Agreed. That's
But then
what
it's
I'm
gotta
saying.
go
is
back.
I can't prove that when he's bringing this equipment home, it's not to work in the yard. That's my issue. I don't.
Yeah, but it needs to then go off-site, back to location where a contractor's yard is an allowed use. Because it's being used for his business.
And the home
So he
project,
can
that's
bring
my
it to the
problem right
house.
now.
No, because if he keeps bringing stuff and leaving it at the house, then he's running his business out of there. You see it in the photos. He's taking the stuff, leaving the property, coming back at the end of the day, posting how great his excavation work was, using the same equipment. That equipment needs to be cited at Ferry Equipment.
Can I comment?
And then brought to the property.
What you're missing is this is one of the sites. This is a site.
So it needs to leave if it's not being used.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. He can leave his, he's got an open permit for a construction site. The construction equipment can be there as much as he wants it to be.
So it's finished.
Right, but then he can't take it and go to another project site.
Of course he can.
No, he can't.
And he's subject to.
He's running his
He's running
business.
business out of there now. Now he's staging and is storing his equipment at the 197 location.
Again, I don't disagree with you generally, but while he's got a construction project going on, the equipment can certainly go there to work on the construction.
And when the construction's done, it goes back to that allowed
Can I-
location.
Yes, it's
Could I
gonna go away.
clarify something, please, about the equipment that's mainly on my brother's property? It's his, it's the purple excavator, the small one, the Bobcat, the small dump truck. It's been on, we have 5 acres of property together, right next to each other. It's been constructing everything on our properties. It's built our pools over the last 25 years. Basketball court, additions, everything. That's his property. We use it all the time to do little projects myself. I mean, this is crazy. I've been here 50 years.
I agree with you,
Doing the
Mr. Durkin.
same thing
If you
for
need to
50
use it,
years.
you can use it. You can take it to your house and.
But you
it's a
want
family
you want
project.
him to move it off every time he's done with it. Like if he borrows a piece of my
It's-
brother's equipment, you want him to then take it to somewhere else.
Now I'm getting what's really going on, is this doesn't belong to Chase de Terra or Chase de
Not
Terra
at all.
excavation anyways.
The only thing Chase owns is the Doza, which is not on the property.
not even there.
Keeps
There you
as
go.
his cousins.
Then that stuff should be
And
staying.
the one photo that they have
That
of
should
digging
stay
a
full-time,
trench dug for
and
my
it shouldn't be
buddies.
part of the business. It should stay full-time at the property. If it's strictly
That'll
gonna
have
use.
to refer to the building department and
Right?
maybe someone with a
You
bigger
can't go
degree
off-site
than
ever.
me. Because I can't see that his father can't let him borrow a machine to go do work. I mean, I don't know. That's a pretty fine hair, but that's
If it's
for
family,
you
fine,
lawyers.
but if it's for his business, that, now we're stretching things. We're now really stretching what the bylaws allow.
So a Mass State policeman brings his cruiser home, a plumber that might run out of his business, is out of his home, has a van,
Yep.
electrician, HVAC guys. So
That's-
technically, if we do that, nobody can bring their vans home.
Well, it's not the van, the truck's allowed.
Well, the
We're
truck's
doing
allowed,
that.
you can't do business
We're
trucks outside
talking
by the
about,
house.
we're
It's
talking
more
about
than
a
that,
piece of
yeah.
equipment, and the issue I see with the equipment is, it's not Chase's, it has nothing to do with the business, but his father's allowing him to use it to do work. So, I mean, there is some kind of fine line there, but I don't know, I mean, so the machine's been there for
He's
100 years,
probably
it's fine,
used it
but now because he's letting his son use it to do some work, it's a problem.
You have a
That's-
video camera that records.
that's a fine
everything.
thread.
Why don't you
I don't
show
know.
them Coming in and out.
You know,
Like
I,
they're claiming.
He's been out every day.
All right, I make a motion to
Yeah.
support the building
He's
inspector.
been out every day with his truck and
Like
his
100%.
trailers. He's been
we have a
back-
motion in a second.
I was gonna say, just do the vote. They made a motion.
Are we ready to vote?
No, I have something to say.
Okay?
Kathy McCooch. For the last 6 months, I've seen him go out every day with his father's tractor, with his yellow tractor. Some days he takes the purple one out, comes back, gets the yellow one. He's got all his jobs posted on Facebook. His sister's saying, oh, my brother's really, what's the word she used? In there with his jobs. All last week, I've seen him remove the equipment, because I knew you were coming. And he went on vacation, then he came back, and all week long, I've seen him go in and out with his truck and his trailer.
He
He
may-
goes out every morning, he comes in every night, and his tractors aren't there now because you were there.
He may have known this meeting was coming, but he didn't know I was coming. I didn't call anybody till I was in the yard.
Well, his brother, his uncle
I
father told him.
I called Bobby, so I wasn't trespassing as
And
I was
another
pulling
thing
in his
is-
yard
Oh,
to say,
you
hey,
know.
just so you know, if anybody's around,
And
I'm in
another
your
thing
yard,
is,
it's me.
They use my land to go across with their construction equipment. He does not own that lane. It's a 25-foot right-of-way for the city of New Bedford, not Bobby DeTava, not Chase DeTava. He is running a commercial business across my land, and I don't think that's right either. And I have to put up with him going back and forth a couple times a day with all his equipment. He comes in, he feeds
That's
his
a civil
dog, and he
matter,
goes
and it was
out.
already put in court. And it was
We've already been to
already
court
went to
when
court for that. You
you
already
took him to court for trespassing.
Hey, guys, one at a
We're
time,
going to
please.
court. We're going to court again, girl.
Through the board, one at a time,
They
please.
have 150 foot to put their own driveway in, and they won't do it.
Because we've used that
not how it
driveway for
works.
30 years. You've already taken him to court for trespassing, and they
He's
threw it
gonna
out.
keep going to court every time he does trespass on my
It's
land.
not trespassing.
He goes on-
That's a right of
It's
way.
a driveway.
It's a right away for the city of New Bedford.
No, it's
Don't
a right
tell
of
me.
way for anybody
I
that's
know it
taking
is.
permit
It's
for
a
over
right of way
10
for the
years.
city.
I got a permit.
You don't need
Guys,
We're not here for that.
You're not here for any of that.
we're definitely not here for that.
Not here for
And, again, they look
I
at,
have pictures.
when lawyers are involved, I try to stay on top of my game and know what's going on. And I know that right-of-way thing has been dispersed and all went away. They have every right to access the right-of-way. That a judge said, so.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it did.
It's
What
what-
judge?
The magistrate.
court.
We went to the
We already
court
went
when
to
you
court
filed
for it.
trespassing.
There-
No
there-
trespassing.
That, I don't wanna discuss that here, but that's not what we're here for.
That's a civil
We're
matter.
here to discuss whether or not Mr. Babola
Someone
is
say no.
upholding his end of the bargain, doing his job for the town, and I believe he is. I am gonna strongly suggest that he does what he's already been telling me he's doing, which is just continue to monitor what's going on over there, and, you know, to answer your concerns as well. If you see something, give a call, you know.
So when all that equipment comes back, I'll call Andy up.
When the equipment's on there, if they're doing work on this project, there's not much you can do.
They're not doing work
If
on the
it's just
project.
coming and going all day long, I would say, you know, give them a call and let them know what's happening.
The pictures are in front of you, the trucks and the tractors.
I have pictures of their equipment that I'm told Mr. Dara owns, and I mean, quite frankly,
He don't own the trailer, he don't own the,
He does too.
Bobcat.
he can run his truck and trailer back and
He
forth.
does. He
That's
does
legal.
it.
Stop the lying.
I run my truck and trailer out of my yard every day. That's, I have to park somewhere.
Yeah, you know, the truck.
Correct, and trailer, truck and trailer.
He comes in and out all day long.
You can have a trailer.
And comes back at night.
All right, make that motion to support the building inspector.
There's a motion and a second already. I think we've heard enough.
I just.
Tell his attorney to pick it up.
I'm not saying that the pictures aren't true. I'm saying it's not enough to overturn the building department doing his job. I think he's doing his job. I think he's out there trying to control the situation. And I'm listening to him tell me he's out there trying to control the situation. And again, I do believe that there's gonna be a time soon where this project gets done and there'll be a little less that can happen there. Again, I try to talk to everyone, see what's going on. I talked to Mr. Bowl. I went into Bob's yard, I looked at it, I saw all the old stuff. I said, what's going on here? He said, when my project's done, that loam's going right back over it. It's all gonna be cleaned up. I don't want a construction business running out of my yard. This is what they're telling me. This is what I have to believe. I gotta side with Andy doing his job. I mean,
So bring it to the vote.
that's where I'm
Bring it
at.
to the vote. It's
So,
already been
we
seconded.
got a motion and a second. All in favor? So moved.
Thank you for your time, guys.
Thank you.
Can I, before we close the meeting, can I just, make a comment to the attorney? A lot of those pictures were taken from our property, and if anybody wants to take pictures from our property in the future, that they ask permission to come on our property.
No, you were up in the woods on town property.
You had no business.
Thank you.
Nothing back there.
So, we do have a continuation and we do have new business for the next meeting. So, we will be having a meeting as previously discussed on April 16th at 6:30 PM. With that being said, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Yes.